Tēnā koutou, nau mai, haere mai. Welcome to Working with Sounds. My name is Maria Reid, and today I want to talk about a complementary life skill that supports the foundational skills that we spoke about in our last session called searching in. And that life skill is asking for help. It's such a critical skill for all our young people. I've worked for over 30 years in special education and adult disability services, and if people know how to ask for help in situations that are critical, that is going to make a huge difference to their lives. Now you may be saying, oh, the person I work with or the person who lives in our house actually already knows how to ask for help. But oftentimes that is being prompted by us. Either when we see somebody in need of something, we are being helpful ourselves and say, would you like some help? Can I do something for you? Can I help you? Or we respond with a look, looking for something, a wink, a gesture, and the person is already informed about the kind of things that they needed without really realizing that they were stuck. But what I am looking at is a situation where we didn't know that help was needed. For instance, you're out in the garden, the back of the garden, talking to a neighbor, and the sausages are on fire. Here is your person standing by the stove and looking at the sausages. Now, because you're not there to prompt, do you need something? Can I get you something? They may think, oh, I haven't been prompted. I'm just going to wait here for you to come. Or you're in the kitchen or wherever in the house and the bath water is running over and somebody is noticing but hasn't been prompted to ask for help by words, by an invitation through a look. They may not come for help. Or more serious still, if somebody has been subject to or observed abuse such as bullying or being bullied themselves, they may not know how to come for help because you haven't prompted them, and you couldn't have if you didn't know about it. So we want to prepare for these really life-changing situations that when help is needed that you didn't know about, that the person can approach you and ask for help. So how do we go about that? Well, first of all, there are two aspects to asking for help. One is you have to realize you're stuck. And then the second aspect is you have to know there is somebody here that can unstick you, that can get you out of that stuck situation. And to think the two hang together or the two come automatic, but they really don't. I'll give you an example. This is a real life example, but I've changed situations and names of where it is really evident how difficult this skill really is. So here is William. He's 8 years old. He's in a classroom. There are 3 adults. There's a bunch of kids. And I give William this little black box and I say, William, this is something we're going to do, an activity. I'm going to hide the box. You need to find the box. And so you put your hands in front of your eyes and I'll hide the box. And then to help you, I will look at where I've hidden the box. William thinks this is great. He puts his hands in front of his eyes. I hide the box. And a moment later, I say, William, go. And William looks around the room. Now, he hasn't actually taken notice of my little tip that I'm looking at the box because he hasn't learned joint attention, he hasn't learned eye tracking, but he is very, very busy and assiduous looking for this box. He's lifting things up, and if you've ever been in a classroom, you know there's shelves and boxes pretty much everywhere. So he's looking and going around the room several times, checking in everything he can think of, but unfortunately the box is not found. After about 7 minutes or so, William spots an interesting looking book on one of the tables and is distracted by that and forgets all about the box and the task. And it hadn't occurred to William that there were 3 adults in the room who would have been able to help him. He hadn't approached anyone to say, I can't find the box, I need some help. And what it signifies is, first of all, William has missed out on a real opportunity to bring this task to a conclusion, and this happens quite frequently. But he's also not realized that he is stuck and that somebody can unstick him. So those two aspects to asking for help need to work together, and it is very important that we develop them both. So what I usually start with is an animal page, and the reason why I use this page is because it's obviously visual, so you can take these little images off, and so it means it doesn't rely on verbal communication. Learning to ask for help can be done of course verbally, but it can also be done through gesture, through sign, through visuals, through devices. So it does not require on verbal language. The animals that are on here I have chosen because in the area where I work, these are mostly known to people. When we are teaching somebody to ask for help, we need to make sure that the answer is either right or wrong. You couldn't say, somebody's asked me for help to draw a duck. They've drawn a duck, but it isn't right. Well, it is right to that person. So it's got to be either that is a pig or it's not a pig. So it's a yes or no answer that we're looking for. And most of the people that I work with would know the sounds that all of these animals will make. So I would, for instance, first work out what does the person know, which one goes woof, which one goes meow, and they would pick up or say the name of the dog followed by the cat. So the next step would be, I am going to say, okay, put this page down and I'm going to name 3 animal sounds and you need to find them for me. So I would say, please give me one that goes woof, one meow and one moo. Now, if they have remembered the first 2, then they might look around and maybe forgotten that last one. And something you really find very interesting and need to look out for, what usually the person will then do, they hover with their finger over a whole row and go slowly along and watch your face to see at what stage are you going to give the show away and go. And it really only takes a slight change in your facial expression or raising of the eyebrows to, yes, you're on the right track. The person didn't need to ask for help, you've just offered them the answer. But what we want to do, we want to develop that feeling of, hang on a minute, I have no idea, and nothing is coming from the other side. So let's just assume this person has remembered woof the dog, meow the cat, but had forgotten what the third animal was. So here comes the finger and it hovers. And looking at me, am I going to give something away? But I'm just going to sit there and continue with the same facial expression that I had. After a while, nothing further will be done, or maybe the person is just going to point at one after the other, and I will say, are you stuck? Are you stuck? Do you need help? Help me? So the sign for help me, and immediately upon this person saying yes or nodding, help me, sounds great, immediately I'm going to offer up the right one. Moo, oh, it's the cow. So images like this, but it could be something else that is either right or wrong. It is always repeatable in the same way. It is a certain beginning and an ending, so you know the task is finished. So those are the kind of parameters that will help you find the right kind of activity to do, to teach this. If the person, this is all very easy for them, you could make it a little bit more difficult. You could, for instance, say, which one lays eggs and has no feathers? So there is, of course, the fish, which would be the only one to which this applies, and the person may not know that. So they may point to all sorts of other creatures on here, and you could then immediately or after a short while offer, are you stuck? Would you like help? Help me? Help me, says the person, or indicates that, and you say either it's the fish, or you could go, is it the fish or the dog? Well, they know it's not the dog because they know that the dog has neither feathers nor lays eggs. So in this case, it becomes evident, but the person still has to have some input into it. So it's important that you provide the answer really straight away to that to the question. Then you're going to make things a little bit more difficult. All the while, you need to clearly indicate yes, right, no, not right. And I know the word no is difficult for some people, and we're going to have another whole session on the word no. But in the meantime, I would like to emphasize the need for a conversational tone when you use the word no. So if somebody is really sensitive about hearing the word no, then you would say, oh, no, that's that, and not focus so much on the no, but rather on what comes after that. Keep your voice really light, keep it really conversational. Make sure it doesn't have a punitive connotation, because often the word no is connected in people's minds with a punitive aspect. So we need to make sure it's very light, it's very conversational if you're going to use it. So initially, we are going to use something like that. Now, you may find that the person you're working with just doesn't interact in the way that you would like them to, in which case I would use somebody else to model that behavior, ideally a peer. So if you're working with a student, I would choose another student alongside that is going to respond, so that models the kind of interaction that can take place to understand, I'm stuck, you can help me. The reason why we use help me versus give me that animal or get me this, it is very general. It can be used in all sorts of situations where, if you ask very specific, teach very specifically, just, can I have the animal please? Can you show me the animal? Then that is only applicable to this chart. And we want it to be generalized, because at the end of the day, it's not about these animals. It's about personal safety for our people who are stuck, that they realize they're stuck, and that they realize there is somebody here, some trusted person here who can help me out of that situation, to make those connections. It's just so critically important. So we're going to start with this. Once we've got this one sorted, we now need to generalize that skill. Asking for help is not really about this, it's about asking for help in other life situations. So we are going to widen our area, and we can do that by maybe placing something slightly out of reach. I see you can't reach that. You can even help by saying, are you stuck? Yes. And then just wait a moment to see if the person either shows help me, or says help me, or indicates it in some other way. And it's very important that we provide only the cues that are needed. So the strongest cue is, of course, do you need help? Help? Yes, help. Then you move back from that one. Once that is really clearly working, you move back from that one and say, are you stuck? Are you stuck? What can we do? And wait for that sign, wait for the words. Once the person has connected those things, you could then just wait a moment. You have created a situation where help is required, like placing something out of reach, or making a container a bit too hard to get into, or finding something. You're going to stand there and just going to wait a little while. And then you could indicate, are you stuck? You're stuck. And and hopefully by then the help me will come automatically. Now, the situation that we are going to prepare for, though, is one where you did not know that the person needed help. So you couldn't possibly say to them, are you stuck? Can I help you? Because you have no idea. Even worse, you may be totally preoccupied with something. And we often teach people that you mustn't interrupt somebody who's talking or is on the telephone and all this kind of thing. But if your house was about to be on fire and you were on the phone, you really would want to be interrupted. So it's for those critical, sometimes life-saving situations that we are going to prepare our people to ask for help. And it's very, very hard to do for some people who really find it extremely difficult. But little by little step, we're going to get there. So the next thing we're going to do after we have widened away from something like this to other areas of the household, so that the I'm stuck, I need help can be generalized across a whole range of situations. Now, the following step will be to make yourself a little bit harder to get at. So say, I often do this in role play, because role play can be so very, very realistic. To say, okay, I'm just going to pretend I'm on the telephone, and you are going to, need my help for something, and I'm looking at the window talking on the phone. What can you do? So if we don't practice those things, what has happened time and time again, in my experience, that people just stand there behind you and wait for you to turn around and say, is something wrong? But what we really, really want is that the person comes up and gets our attention, either by tapping us on the shoulder or by making sure they're facing us and indicating to us that help is needed. And the best way, as I said before, the best way to do that is in role play. So it's obviously easier within a classroom or a whole group situation than it might be for you at home. But if you recruit some other people and say we're going to play a game, you might be able to pull that one off as well. So what you would do is you create a situation. I'm going to be the person here looking out the window, and let's pretend you are going to be the person that has fallen off the bench or off the horse or whatever, and now the person you're working with say, no, you have to say, I'm coming, go and get help, says the person's fallen down, and you come running to me and you're going to get me to help you. And this is a scenario that we do practice, and it's really incredible how well it works for people, and the feedback that we have had, that people at home go, in one case, the bath water was running over and the person looked and thought mum is somewhere else in the house, and ran and got mum's attention for that. So it's certainly working. But one thing that you could perhaps do, and I do this, we don't always know how a person is affected by your unavailability. So you're standing there looking really busy, and some people find it incredibly difficult to then approach you and get your attention. So what I do is I break it down. I say, how difficult do you want this to be? Do you want it to be easy or medium, or do you want it to be really hard? And most people start with easy. That is, so you are pretending to be on the phone, the person approaches, and as soon as they arrive in your field of vision, you turn around and say, yes, that's really easy. Difficult would be, I'm talking on the phone to my son who is overseas, and I haven't spoken to you for 6 months, and he's just come back from somewhere really dangerous, and I don't want to be interrupted. And somebody comes along that is chosen difficult, and you say, no, go away now, I'm busy talking, I can't, look, could you just wait? And sometimes waiting is fine, but there are other situations where it isn't good to wait. So that person is then required to come along and really tap you on the shoulder and speak quite loudly until you, in a very irate way, what? And they say, I need your help now. and then come along. And wouldn't you be glad if you got interrupted if it was something that was super critical? Now, the balancing out, of course, in all of this is, we don't want somebody who gives up straight away because, I'm an easy source of help now. And that is certainly, occasionally, does that happen? That is certainly the case. What we do then is somebody has worked out, all I need to do is ask for help. I don't need to do any thinking. You will do it for me. But what we can say, so he comes and says, or she, I need help. And you know quite clearly the person is able to resolve this issue. So the first is you acknowledge that there is an issue, and then you say, well, what could we do? What could we do? Encouraging that person to come up with a solution. Oh, well, there you go. You did that all by yourself. Or if really help is needed, you could give a little hint to that and see if that person can resolve it from there all on their own. When it comes to role play, of course, you will do this with people that understand they're practicing for real life. It isn't real life itself, although at the time of role play, for most of our people and all the students that I have worked with over the years, it feels very real, and they have to show real courage and determination to get through to the person who is either unavailable altogether or only moderately available. And those are the situations that prepare them for any eventuality we hope will never happen, but could happen, where they need the help that you did not know they needed. Well, I hope that this will work well for you. We'd love to hear your comments, and as always, and look forward to seeing you again for another session of working with sounds and contributing skills. Until then, kei te mihi, kia tātou, ka kite anō.